Your book emphasizes using data and evidence. How does ADI help students become more scientifically literate and independent thinkers?
So the first thing to think about is what it means to be scientifically literate. So often when people think about science, it's just knowing the kind of the facts and terms. But really science is much more than that. It's a way of figuring out things. So for those of us that use science in day to day, it's really not more. It's really more about using the ideas that we've taught you to try to explain. If those don't work, we start looking about bigger frameworks to collect the data that we need, and then engaging in the practices of science to develop new explanations or ways of thinking about stuff. So what we try to do with this approach is to give students opportunities to exactly do that. So to kind of mirror what professional or a science-related career looks like into the classroom as best that we can under the constraints of time and school years and age and all those different kinds of things. So what we really try to do with this is really focus on identifying gaps in our understanding, right? So students are thinking about, okay, how do I explain this phenomenon? I've got these science ideas already, but that doesn't completely answer that. So what other information do I need to collect? So investigations don't become more than following a recipe. It's really starting to think about, well, why am I doing this? What information do I need? And then once you have that, you have to start thinking about, well, what's the best way to analyze it and interpret that analysis? And that really depends on the context in what you're exploring. And then from there, how do I share my ideas? How do I justify that the way I'm proposing that this phenomenon happens is actually valid and acceptable? And that's the idea of what do we turn to in science, and that's evidence. And it's important for kids to start understanding what counts as evidence, what could be biases in evidence, that it's not just discovered in nature, but it's created by other people. And really focusing then on how do you not only generate that evidence, but how do you then communicate that in a way that's convincing and persuasive. These are not easy things to learn. It can't really be done in one lesson because it's context specific. And so you have to kind of develop a grasp of practice over time. So what we do with these investigations is allow students to engage in the same kinds of activities, but allow them to see how it varies based on context, and they can start developing rules of thumb for what counts as a high quality investigation or a good argument or a good way to present ideas or what makes some evidence stronger than others.